Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in today. We're going to look at 5 different kinds of basses with different kinds of strings: fretless and fretted, and jazz bass and P bass, viola bass. Stay tuned. Hi everybody, thanks for tuning into the channel today. I'm going to do like kind of a show and tell, not really a review of basses because I'm not going to go into great detail. I just know that if ever I'm shopping for a bass or interested or in a particular kind of guitar or a 12 string or a banjo guitar, I'll look on YouTube and see if I can find somebody that's playing one, and then I can get an idea what it sounds like, because some instruments you just never see in the music store. You walk into Guitar Center or you walk into your average music store, it looks just like the same stuff you see in the musician's friend catalog. And there's all kinds of guitars and brands of guitars out there that you don't know anything about and you never see them. I buy a lot of stuff online and have had pretty good luck with it, but part of my success has been finding stuff on YouTube that lets me get a chance to hear it a little bit. So I'm going to go through a couple or several of my basses and let you kind of hear them. And I'm not the greatest bass player in the world, but I have a lot of fun with it. And if it helps you in making a buying decision, that's great. Let me know in the comments if this is helpful to you. Be sure to also click that like button and subscribe and share. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm this close. So without further ado, the jazz bass. The jazz bass is a style of bass, right? They were pioneered by Fender in the beginning. They came out like in the early 1960s or so. Mine is very much set up like a vintage one. I've still got the bridge cover and the pickup cover on it. I just like the look of that. This particular bass has got this great buttercream style to it. This is made by SX. SX makes a wide variety of, or they made a wide variety of basses. Their line of basses is dwindling down, and they're not going to be replacing those. They're going to just focus mainly on guitars, mainly because of the cost of shipping from China. But to get an idea what a basic jazz bass sounds like, this is a passive instrument, passive pickups. There's no batteries or anything like that in it. And there's 2 single coil pickups, right? It's got the finger rest, which used to be a thing back in when electric basses first got started. They figured guitar players would play them. That gave a guitar player to play with the finger and then use it as a thumb to play. Well, most people ended up playing with string bass technique with 2 fingers or a pick occasionally. So this is really, most guitars, if they have one, they're up on the top nowadays because to rest your thumb on. So let me just play just a little bit here. Well, you're hearing these are flat wound strings. I use round wound on another bass. Most basses you buy them in the store today come with round wound strings. I like the kind of thuddy, thumpy sound, the woody sound that the round wounds give. I'm mainly on the front pickup right now. I'm going to roll to the back pickup. This is a way different sound altogether. And blended, there's about 50-50 on them. This guitar is also, I have foam stuck up under the bridge. Back when you buy a jazz bass, up through the 70s mainly, you would get a foam mute inside the cover here that sat on the strings. They gave it a little more thump, dampened some resonances, and it really doesn't ring out quite as much, but that's a very old school kind of Motown kind of sound. You get the idea. So let me switch to another bass, let you hear what it sounds like, okay? So the last one was a jazz bass or a J bass. This is a P bass, precision bass, or based on the design of the Fender precision bass. The precision bass was the first electric bass with frets. That's why they called it the precision bass. And you'll notice this has one single pickup, but it's split down the middle. So it'll be hum canceling. The P bass has a very distinctive sound, and it's very different from the jazz bass. To me, the jazz bass sounds more civilized. It's the nice, polite bass. This one is my rude bass. This one has a real edge to it. Now I can roll back on the tone and make this nice and thumpy. But when you turn it up, you get this edge. And I'm using the same exact amp settings as I was on the other bass. So this one really just has some punch to it. So whenever I want to play like rock or aggressive music, this is the one I turn to. This has a maple neck. The other one had a rosewood neck. The feel on the maple and rosewood is distinctly different. It seems to me there's more reflectivity, more of a bounce off the string. When I put whatever energy I put into a maple neck, it doesn't get absorbed. It reflects back to me, and it makes the neck feel more lively to me. Some people say the same thing about ebony. Ebony's you find only on really much more expensive basses. On most your entry-level basses, it's going to be rosewood or maple. This is maple. The light-colored wood, the dark-colored wood is rosewood. Rosewood's hard to get nowadays too. You can't import it into the United States anymore because it's like an endangered species. But the older basses and stuff that have rosewood, I mean, it's a nice feel, nice soft, feels kind of supple. There's more reflectivity, I think, to the maple, and that's part of that's due to the finish and the hardness of the wood itself. So I should say that on the last bass, that those were also flat wound strings as well on there. Even as much edge as that has, if you put round wounds on that bass, it gets actually so to the point of being aggressive that it's kind of gnarly and unusable. So the flat wounds work well on that particular bass and give you a lot of punch and a lot of dynamics, and I just like the smooth feel. Now this is a jazz bass style guitar. The body shape, the controls, the layout, and everything are pretty much the jazz bass, the two pickups. This is a passive bass, but this is a 6-string bass and it's fretless. There are fret lines into the neck there, but there's no frets. So this instrument is strung up with round wound strings. So it has a distinctly different sound, and the fretless tone of it is just much different. You get this buzz. Some people call it moi because the note kind of goes like moi off your fingers. It sounds like this. Let's go. So that's your sound of the moi. This instrument is made by SX, sort of, it was like the first bass I showed you, the other jazz bass. They're both the same brand. Like I said, if you can find an SX bass, they are a great value for the money. This one also has the maple neck, as you can see, and that it has a real shiny, glossy finish on it, which helps those notes reflect. And without the frets, that's what you get, that vibration of the strings against that neck that gives you that distinctive. That real crying kind of sound. That's really cool about fretless bass. But this being a 6-string, it has a low B and it has a high C on the top. I have a mute up here at the top that helps kind of quiet some of the unwanted resonances, because it's much harder to keep the open strings under control on a 6-string bass. That's one of the things, if you want a 6-string bass, that you have to take into consideration, is that when you're playing up here, you'll start getting sympathetic vibrations down here on these lower strings, and it creates this kind of rumble underneath everything that kind of gets in the way. So a little fret mute like this is a pretty handy thing, a little fret wrap. Next is a hollow body viola bass. The viola bass is designed after the old Hofners that were popularized by the Beatles. This is the Epiphone version of that instrument. It does not have F-holes like some of them do. But the body is semi-hollow. There's a little sustain block inside underneath the bridge to help control feedback. 2 pickups, volume tone control on it, and a volume for each pickup. And so this one is also fitted with flat wound strings, which sound really great on this one. This is also a short scale instrument. If you're looking for a bass and you've got smaller hands, most basses have a 34-inch scale length, which means like from the bridge to the nut, that's 34 inches. This is a basically 30.5-inch scale. It's 4 inches shorter than a regular bass. The body design doesn't make it look that way. It looks like it's a pretty long neck, but it's considerably shorter than a regular bass. So if you're a guitarist switching over to bass, this could be a lot more comfortable. This instrument also has a really slim neck, and it has the floating bridge, which just sits on the top of the bass like a violin's bridge does. So this is not an instrument that's made for like slapping and popping and all that kind of stuff, but it does have a pretty wide variety of tones. I like this one mainly on the rear pickup with the tone control pretty much down. This instrument is very articulate and has a nice thump to it. This tone up high, like this, sounds really good with accompanying an acoustic instrumentalist. But I'm using the back pickup primarily. Let me give you the front pickup, and this has a real deep. You may be hearing some of the guitars in the room buzz because they're shaking against the wall. That's with the tone mostly down. If I roll the tone all the way up, so it has quite a bit of rumble to it, and so this gets really deep. Mixed together, the 2 pickups. Nice and articulate. My favorite sound is the bridge pickup, though, the tone rolled almost all the way down. I often call this one my Cadillac bass because this one is so easy to play. It's like it almost plays itself. So you get used to playing the bigger basses and you pick this one. It's just very comfortable, and the scale length is not very wide. I got small hands and it seems to work pretty good, and it's got a great sound. I like this one a lot. And last but not least, this is another Viola bass. This one is also marketed by SX, the guys at Rondo Music, and the brand name on this one is Douglas. They don't make these anymore, and this has a beautiful rosewood neck on it. As you can see, this little natural kind of coloration and grain in the rosewood. It's a very cool kind of thing. But yeah, they don't make these anymore, and if you can find these, they're going up in price. However, if you're looking for one in kind of a budget area, you can find, I think Harley Benton makes one very similar to this, and it's I don't know about the quality of it. I've never played one, but it's the same idea. But this is a fretless viola bass, and so this one is strung up with nylon tape wound strings. What's the difference in the strings? Nylon tape wounds basically have a steel core inside them like a guitar string, and then a heavy black or white nylon tape on the outside. And it's very smooth, doesn't have any finger noise, and it sounds kind of like an upright bass. Of course, as a fretless, you get all those in between little notes where you can kind of fun. that's the back pickup. That's my favorite setting. If I go to the front pickup, let me roll the back one off. It's more boomy like the other Viola Bass. Together, let's kind of blend them a little bit here. You get some brightness. And that's with the tone mostly down, but kind of go up, let me roll the tone up a little bit. You'll get a little bit more brightness off it. If you want to have a little brightness here, and if you want to have kind of a solo voice. So it's kind of cool. Nylon tape wounds sound great on almost any fretless. No finger noise. I also, like I said, the other fretless I had has round wounds on it, which is a distinctly different tone. If you're looking to play along with acoustic musicians, not flat wounds, but the nylon tape wounds are a pretty good bet, and the fretless is always a very expressive kind of thing. This instrument is also short scale, 30.5 inches thereabouts. Like the other viola bass, that's pretty typical for them. One of the things people always ask about viola basses is their neck dive. Well, this one's not too bad. The other one is a little bit heavier in the neck, and it does tend to drop down. So, but when you're playing, your arm is resting on. So it's really not that big of a deal. So that's it for the basses I've got to show you today. That's my collection and just some of the sounds. So if you're shopping for a bass, and those are some considerations: jazz bass versus a P bass versus a hollow body bass, short scale, long scale, flat wound strings, round wound strings, tape wound strings, just a few variables that are there. So thanks for watching, and remember to like, subscribe, and share, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.